Hello, and welcome back. You look up, and the path is gone. The trees look the same. The ground has stopped telling you where to go. And somewhere behind you, the campfire is no longer visible. No map, no road, no glowing blue dot in your hand. For most of human history, getting lost was not a small mistake. It was not an inconvenience. It was a body problem, a food problem, a temperature problem, a predator problem, a memory problem. And if you made the wrong choice, it could become a death problem before sunrise. What would you do first? Your modern brain wants a direction. North, south, home. But your ancestors did not begin with a compass direction. They began with attention. They stopped. They listened. They lowered the panic in their body long enough to read the world again. Because in the deep past, the landscape was not empty space. It was information. Every hill, watercourse, tree line, animal track, wind direction, smell of smoke, and patch of broken grass could become part of a mental map. A mental map was not a paper map inside your head. It was a living memory of relationships. This ridge above that stream below the berry patch near the old termite mound. The termite mound one valley away from the place where children sleep. If you lost that map, you did not just lose direction, you lost safety. Archaeologists know early humans moved through large territories long before cities, roads, or written language. At Jebel Irhoud in Morocco, fossils show early Homo sapiens living around 300,000 years ago. Your ancestors were already bodies built for movement, memory, and social survival across difficult ground. So when you got lost, you were not solving a puzzle. You were trying to rejoin a world your group already knew. The first rule was not to run. Running feels like action. It feels like courage. It feels like doing something. But running also destroys evidence. It breaks your sense of distance. It burns precious energy. It turns fear into a straight line through unfamiliar terrain. A hunter-gatherer who ran blindly could pass water, shelter, tracks, and landmarks without seeing them. So, your ancestors slowed down? They looked behind them. They noticed the shape of the ground from the opposite direction. Have you ever walked into a street and realized it looks completely different on the way back? That problem is ancient. A path remembered from one side may vanish from the other. The boulder that guided you out may hide behind a tree when you return. The hill that seemed obvious in morning light may flatten under afternoon shadow. This is why landmarks mattered. A child learned them by walking. Not from a lecture. Not from a map. From following adults to water. Following them to gather roots. Following them to places where stone could be chipped into tools. Following them home. Again and again. The child's brain tied movement to emotion. Safe. Dangerous. Edible. Dry. Cold. Watched. Hidden. Open. Before a place became a map, it became a feeling. And that feeling could save your life. If you were separated from the group, you searched for anchors. An anchor was anything stable enough to rebuild direction around. A river. A ridge. A coastline. A line of hills. The position of the sun. The direction of slope. A familiar kind of soil under your feet. Water was one of the most important anchors. Not because rivers always led home. They did not. But because rivers organized the landscape. Animals came to them. Plants changed beside them. Human camps often sat near them, above them, or along routes that touched them. If you found a stream you recognized, you had not found home yet, but you had found a sentence in the language of the land. What if you recognized nothing? Then you looked for human traces. A broken branch. A footprint. A stone flake from tool making. Ash from an old fire. A line of trampled grass. At Blombos Cave in South Africa, archaeologists found engraved ochre and evidence of complex behavior from tens of thousands of years ago. Ochre is a colored mineral, often red, used for markings, decoration, and possibly symbolic purposes. Sites like Blombos remind us that ancient humans did not simply survive by instinct. They noticed patterns. They made marks. They carried meaning across time. And a lost person could leave meaning behind. This was one of the simplest survival technologies ever invented. The trail marker. Bend a branch. Scratch a sign. Drop a visible object. Mark a trunk. These signs did not need to be beautiful. They only needed to stop confusion from becoming a circle. Because that is the danger. You think you are walking forward. You think you are escaping. You think the next ridge will finally show you the valley. Then you see it. The same broken tree. The same twisted root. The same dark stone you passed an hour ago. You have walked in a circle. Now the sun is lower. The air is colder. Your mouth is dry. Your legs feel heavy. And the forest no longer feels neutral. It feels like it is closing around you. This is the moment when panic becomes dangerous. You want to run. You want to choose any direction. You want movement to become hope. But one careless step could twist your ankle. One wrong descent could trap you in a ravine. 1 hour of blind walking could take you farther from water, farther from fire, and farther from the people searching for you. Then a sound comes from the trees. A branch breaks. Not near you. Not far enough away. You freeze. Your body understands something before your mind explains it. In the ancient world, night did not belong only to humans. Predators moved through the same darkness you were trying to cross. Cold moved with them. Hunger moved with them. And if you kept walking in fear, you could turn yourself from a lost person into an easy body to find. Not by your group, by something else. So the ancient solution was to create direction outside the mind. Follow a ridge. Follow flowing water. Follow the sun's arc. Mark your turns. Return to the last certain place. The last certain place was sacred in a practical way. It was the last point where the world still made sense. A hunter might return to the carcass. A gatherer might return to the patch of tubers. A child might return to a recognizable rock. From there, the search could begin again with less panic. Sometimes the best move was not to move. If night was coming, movement became risk. A twisted ankle could kill slowly. Cold could enter your bones. The ground could disappear under shadow. Predators could move through the same darkness you were trying to cross. In that moment, ancient survival was not heroic. It was small. Find shelter. Keep warm. Make yourself visible. Listen. Fire changed everything. At Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, researchers have found evidence suggesting human ancestors used fire deep in the past, possibly around 1 million years ago. Fire was not just heat. It was a signal. It was a center. It was a smell that traveled. It turned a frightened body into a visible point in the dark. If you could make fire, you could become findable. A small flame told your group, someone is here. Smoke told the landscape, a human body is waiting. And if your group cared about you, they looked. This is the part modern survival stories often forget. Ancient humans did not survive because every person was a lone genius. They survived because the group remembered you back. Your face mattered. Your tracks mattered. Your absence mattered. If you disappeared, the problem was not only yours. Others might search from the last place they saw you. They might check water. They might look for tracks. They might call. They might read signs you never meant to leave. Your footprint depth. A snapped stem. The direction of disturbed dust. Tracking was not magic. It was disciplined attention. A tracker compared details. Size. Pressure. Spacing. Freshness. Direction. Broken leaves. Drying mud. Crushed grass rising slowly back up. The ground was a page. And your body had written on it. Could you read that page today? Most modern people cannot. Not because your brain is broken, but because your life has trained different senses. You read icons, calendars, notification sounds, street signs, search bars. Your ancestors read wind, ash, slope, hoof prints, birds, silence. Attention follows survival. In the ancient world, memory was not entertainment. It was infrastructure. No street names meant the old woman who knew a hidden spring was infrastructure. No weather app meant the hunter who noticed cloud height was infrastructure. No emergency number meant the child who remembered the way back from the berry patch was infrastructure. Knowledge lived inside people. That is why elders mattered. Even if an older person no longer hunted as fast or carried as much, their memory could prevent disaster. Which valley flooded after rain? Which plants marked underground water? Which cliff forced you into a dead end? The person who remembered could turn terror into a rout. But sometimes no one remembered. Then the counterintuitive truth appears. Getting lost may have helped humans expand. Not every wrong turn ended in death. Sometimes confusion became discovery. A new waterhole. A safer cave. A migration path. A valley with better stone. A coastline rich with shellfish. Human history was not only made by people who knew exactly where they were going. It was also made by people who survived not knowing. At Pinnacle Point on the coast of South Africa, archaeological evidence shows early humans used coastal resources such as shellfish during the Middle Stone Age. Places like this show how shorelines could guide movement. A coast is a path that feeds you. Follow the coast. And you may not know the final destination, but you know where the sea is. Mountains, rivers, and shorelines were ancient orientation systems. So were stars. You did not need modern astronomy to notice that some patterns returned each night. You did not need a written calendar to understand that the sun changed its path through the year. Repeated skywatching turned confusion into expectation. Still, the most powerful map was social. Stories carried roots. A warning about a cliff. A tale about a dry season spring. A memory of where a child was once found. A joke about the stupid valley that tricks young hunters. These were not just stories. They were navigation tools wrapped in emotion. Because emotion helps memory stick. Your ancestors probably did not say, "Please store this geospatial dataset." They said, "Do not go past the black rock after sunset." And a child remembered. Imagine one day, in the deep past, you walk too far while following tracks. The animal path bends through scrub. The sun climbs. The shadows shorten. Then the tracks fade on hard ground. You turn, expecting the return path to appear. It does not. Your mouth dries. The world becomes too quiet. You want to move fast, but the older voice inside your memory tells you not to run. So you stop. You crouch. You look for the last place where the tracks were clear. You mark a stone. You listen for water. You notice birds moving low across the same direction. Then you find a shallow stream. Not home, but not nothing. You drink. You mark the bank. You search for familiar trees. You find an old ash patch under a rock overhang. Someone has been here. Maybe your group. Maybe another. The fear inside you changes shape. It is still fear. But now it has instructions. As evening comes, you do not wander into darkness. You gather dry grass. You shelter near stone. You make smoke if you can. You stay close to water, but above the coldest air. You leave signs where searchers might pass. You turn your body from a lost body into a findable body. That was survival. Not bravery. Not perfect instinct. A sequence. Stop. Read. Mark. Return. Shelter. Signal. Wait. Move only when the world gives you a reason. Today, getting lost feels almost embarrassing. Your phone battery dies, and suddenly a shopping district becomes strange. A hiking trail turns silent. A parking garage becomes a maze. You feel a small, ancient panic rise through a modern body. That panic is old, but so is the answer. Slow down. Choose an anchor. Make the world readable again. Your ancestors did not defeat being lost by knowing everything. They survived it by paying attention, by trusting memory, by using the group, by turning fear into signs. The path may disappear. The trees may look the same. The ground may stop telling you where to go. But now you know the first thing your ancestors did when the path was gone. They looked up. They stopped moving. And they began to read the world.